Imagine the terror of holding your child, consumed with fear for their safety, when tragedy strikes without warning. The heartbreaking story of Brittany Steyer is a powerful reminder of the devastating impact of domestic violence, how love can turn into fear, and how a life that once held so much promise can be ripped away in an instant. In today's video, we'll explore the life and tragic death of Brittany Steyer, a devoted mother who became another victim of domestic violence. Brittany's story is more than just an act of violence. It reflects a much larger issue that too many people face in silence. Brittany's life was filled with love, laughter, and family, yet it was cut short in the most brutal way imaginable. We'll walk through Brittany's life, the events leading to her untimely death, and why her story has left an indelible mark on her family, friends, and community. By the end of this video, we hope to highlight the often hidden dangers of domestic violence and encourage everyone to become more aware of the warning signs. Brittany's legacy serves as a call to action for us all to do more to help those who are suffering. Brittany Steyer was a vibrant, energetic woman who loved life. Growing up in Florida, she was always the adventurous type, eager to explore the world. She was an athlete, playing basketball, softball, and even football during her high school years. But Brittany wasn't just about sports. She was also creative, designing t-shirts for her friends and family. More than anything, Brittany had an insatiable curiosity about the world. She traveled to places like Israel, Greece, Hawaii, and the Caribbean, experiences that deepened her appreciation for different cultures and spiritual places. Despite her adventurous spirit, family was the center of Brittany's world. She faced challenges, especially when her parents, Betsy and Joseph, separated. But through it all, Brittany maintained strong, loving connections with her family. She lived in various parts of Florida, including Bradenton and Crawfordville, where she attended Tallahassee Community College. Brittany's love for her children, Dallas and Carter, was unwavering. Despite facing immense loss in her life, including miscarriages and the heartbreaking death of a son in 2015, her children were always her priority, the light of her life. Brittany's family expanded as her mother remarried, and her father also remarried, bringing step-siblings into the fold. But even with this complex family dynamic, Brittany's love and care for her family never wavered. However, beneath the surface of Brittany's life, a darker story was unfolding. Her relationship with Edward Harris Jr., known as June, started off full of love and promise but slowly became toxic and abusive. Behind closed doors, Edward's behavior turned violent and controlling. What had once been a loving relationship soon became one filled with fear. By early 2020, Harris's aggression escalated. He threatened Brittany's life on more than one occasion. One of the most chilling instances occurred in February 2020 when Harris, in a fit of rage, pulled a revolver on Brittany. After luring her to his home under the pretense of watching a movie, he became irate and threatened to kill her before taking his own life. Brittany begged him to let her go for hours before he finally released her. Despite his arrest for aggravated assault, he was soon released, and Brittany continued to live in fear. Harris's violent behavior became more frequent, but Brittany was determined to protect her children. She tried to keep things calm, but the danger to her life was very real. On July 18, 2020, Brittany needed to pick up her children from Harris's house. Knowing the danger, she asked her friend Heather Helms to come along for support. As Brittany arrived at Harris's home, tensions exploded. A heated argument escalated quickly, and before Brittany could react, Harris pulled out a gun. Brittany, holding her 1-year-old daughter in her arms and with her 2-year-old son close by, found herself trapped in a nightmare. Harris shot Brittany multiple times, right in front of her children and friend. Her daughter was covered in her mother's blood as Brittany tried to shield her from harm. In the blink of an eye, Brittany's life was taken. In the midst of the chaos, Heather grabbed one of the children and rushed to Brittany's sister Christy's house, driving frantically for help. When the authorities arrived, Brittany was found lifeless, leaving her family and community in shock. The horror of the situation was incomprehensible. After the shooting, Harris fled, leading the police on a high-speed chase through Crawfordville. The chase ended when Harris realized he couldn't outrun the law. He pulled over and surrendered. Despite the panic and fear that had fueled his escape, Harris showed no remorse for what he had done. The pain for Brittany's family was immediate and profound. Christy, Brittany's sister, was left to process the unbearable loss. When she saw Brittany's children covered in blood, she knew her life and the lives of her children would never be the same. Christy and her husband Jeff stepped in to raise Brittany's children, adopting them as their own. While they were grateful to give them a safe home, the grief of losing Brittany remained a constant, aching presence. Christy spoke about her sister, remembering her as a loving and selfless mother who always put her children first. The grief was compounded by the knowledge that Brittany had feared for her life. She had known this day could come. The murder of Brittany Steyer not only shattered her family, but also sent shockwaves through the community, highlighting the dangers of domestic violence, especially during the pandemic, when many victims were trapped at home with their abusers. Brittany's death became a powerful rallying cry for domestic violence awareness, particularly during a time when many victims were isolated from their support networks. Her tragedy underscored the urgent need for action and education on domestic abuse. In December 2022, Brittany's family finally saw justice. Edward Harris was convicted of first-degree murder after a 2-day trial. The jury deliberated for less than 15 minutes before returning a guilty verdict. Harris was also convicted of child neglect, felony fleeing, and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon. While the sentence ensured that Harris would spend the rest of his life in prison, it could never undo the pain Brittany's family felt. During the emotional sentencing, Brittany's family gave tearful statements, sharing the devastation her loss had caused. Christy spoke about how Brittany's death had torn apart their lives, but also about the love Brittany had shown for her children and family. The grief in the courtroom was palpable, and the family's memories of Brittany as a joyful, loving person filled the room. Brittany's death is a tragic reminder of the dangers of domestic violence and the importance of recognizing the warning signs before it's too late. Domestic violence often begins with subtle behaviors, emotional manipulation, controlling tendencies, and isolation. But as we've seen in Brittany's story, it can escalate into life-threatening violence. It's crucial for victims to seek help and for friends and family to recognize the signs of abuse and offer support. Breaking the cycle of abuse is difficult, but with awareness, it is possible. Brittany's story lives on through her children and the strength of her family, and it's through telling her story that we hope to raise awareness and prevent further tragedies. If this video has impacted you, please like, share, and subscribe. Together, we can help prevent domestic violence and provide support for those who need it most. Let's work to honor Brittany's memory and ensure that her story doesn't end in vain.